Hey guys, Greg at Best Choice Trailers. I'm here between truckloads at the moment, so I wanted to take a second to take a video of this Max D. It's a H8X Gooseneck equipment trailer. For the most part, most of the features on this are standard, but there are a few options, one of them being 8,000 pound axle upgrade. It's also got a winch plate in the neck. But I want to take you for a walk around the trailer. This one's a 24-footer. It's got this stand-up, what I call stand-up deluxe ramps. They're a little bit wider. But again, 24-foot on the deck. Let's take a peek at this guy. Let's start up front. It's going to weigh in at about 5,000 pounds. So it's going to give you about 11,000 pounds of the deck of legal payload. It's not going to count your pin weight. Pin weight's about 22% up front. So you can get about 3 to the truck. Max legal, if you ever got DOT, could go as high as 14. I'd say it's probably optimistic, so you're not going to be perfectly balanced on both axles, but 13.5 certainly reasonable. 2 5/16 inch ball coupler. If you look at the flange, I really like the way they do this gooseneck coupler. It's a little bit different than most. Of course, you got your set bolts on the neck. Seven-way sealed whip. They do a little bit nicer breakaway on these. This is going to have the zip breakaway if you're not familiar. Pretty neat setup. Generally see that more on a premium trailer. Typically your, I'll say, mid-grade and under manufacturers aren't spending the extra money for that. Really like the spare tire mounts. Just nicely done compared to, I'll say, some of the ones that we see in the industry. Of course, safety chains, got a little hook bar for them. Sealed wiring harness, wiring's running back in conduit. Winch mount in the neck, and it's got your roller fair lead set up as well. Now, a lot of manufacturers, if this winch plate's here, you're not going to get crossbars. This unit's built with 3-inch crossbars in the back of the neck. It's actually got 3 of them as well. I was going to say, if you do see them, typically you see 1 or 2 without the winch plate. They've got 3 with. And then you've also got your crossbar here in here as well. Full front toolbox. I do like the diamond plate. Gives you a little bit cleaner look, I think, than the smooth. Gas shock on it. Of course, you've got keys for your lockable latch. The H8X. I call this the GH8X because of the gooseneck. Dual jacks. Little detail, I like the keeper for the handle, but this straight out of the gate just cranks better. You'd be surprised. See a lot of trailer jacks from brand new that just need a little bit of love, a little bit of grease. Fortunately, some of them need tore down. But this one straight out of the box is working good. Reflector tape in the back of the neck. So H8 is going to refer to your main frame. You've got an 8-inch channel main. You've also got 5-inch angle underbridging underneath. This unit's got a 102 deck upgrade. So instead of a 7-foot wide, 7 would refer to basically fender to fender. This has a 102 deck. So this is where your driver fenders are going to come in. I like the driver fenders on this. They're well done. I like the fact they're a little bit easier slope. Besides that, they're boxed in with your light. Pretty slick setup. Of course, rubber rail stake pockets going down the side. Get a little bit thicker rub rail on these. I don't have book spec. That sure looks like a 1/4 instead of a 3/8 rub rail on these. Another detail on the 8,000 pound axles. This is going to have 17.5 rubber instead of 16-inch 14 ply. So it's a 215/75 17.5, and that should be a 16 ply rubber. I didn't check. Actually, they've upgraded to 18 ply. So 16 is normally what you'll see in a 215. This is actually an 18 ply, and it's also a Westlake tire. I'm not guaranteeing that spec won't change over time, but currently it's a Westlake. That's actually one of the best tires that we've seen in the industry. We've had Westlakes dating back probably 10 to 13 years, and they've always had a pretty good tire setup. These also have the nicer Valcrum aluminum caps instead of plastic. If you ever had an 8K axle, you know what I mean. There's a nicer setup. Coming back to the rear, you got a tread plate beaver tail instead of wood. You've also got the 30-inch wide, again, what I call the deluxe ramps. It's a wider ramp. It's built heavier with crossbar down the center. It's also got the expanded mesh, which makes it to where you can load just about anything. You've got 4-inch D-rings as well instead of 3. Of course, you got your kicker knee for support. That is adjustable, so you can adjust different heights. One of the things you don't normally see that I like on the Maxstar, those ramps will go pretty much the whole way. The way they've done it, you've got a full bar, and you've got a much, I'll say, smaller opening at the center than what you see on some. So you got a lot of versatility out of these ramps with the extra width and with the extra adjustability. So give MaxD credit. That is something I rarely see on trailers. Typically, you've got at least a foot and a half unusable in the center. So a wider ramp, those are spring assisted. You've got a tubular bumper at the rear that's not a formed or a channel as well. When you go to the 8,000 pound axles, you're gonna go to a 12-inch on center cross member. I can show you underneath here, but 12-inch on center instead of 16, and that is structural channel. That's not a formed steel that you sometimes see. Additional D-rings up front. It is a dual jack setup. Those are a bolt-on jack. If you ever need to replace them, fairly easy to do so. So this comes in different lengths, but this one is a 24. That would be a 22, and then your 2-foot dove at the back is going to take you to 24 foot. Ideal setup for 8K axles. Typically, guys are going to buy a 22-foot 14K or a 24-foot 16K. Typically, higher GVW. Somebody's going to have a little bit bigger equipment. Sticker says this weighs 5. Max does build a fairly heavy-duty trailer. 5 sounds a touch heavy to me. I would have guessed more like 45 maybe. But again, somewhere in that, I'll say 45 to 5 range. I'll go with their number, I guess, on it. But a nicely built gooseneck equipment trailer. We do have these in different setups. We do some gravity tilts. This one, of course, has your stand-up ramps. We do occasionally do some power tilts. And we'll often stock tandem 7K axles, tandem 8K axles. We also do a couple triple axles as well. It does come in a variety of lengths. You can certainly go a lot longer and even shorter than this. So if this isn't what you're looking for, give us a shout. 717-220-4220, or you can visit us on the web at bestchoicetrailers.com. Thanks for looking.